Hello world and welcome to this video. In this video we're going to be creating a new static generated website using Gatsby, and we're going to be using NetlifyCMS to generate all the content for us. Now this is a great option because it's all open source, it's all free, and it's a good way to get a website, a static website up and running for any clients you might have or for yourself to make it easy to manage all your content. So to be clear, we are going to be following this guide to start along with some additional things I found, and we'll take it a step further and do some other things that the initial guide doesn't really show how to do. So to get started, you'll want to either install the global Gatsby CLI command, or if you have npx, if you don't have npx, you can get it. It's a lot easier, but essentially you just do npx and then the same command here, new Gatsby, new, the name of the file or the project you want to do, and then the GitHub repo for the starter file. I've already done this to save time. This does take quite a while to run and get everything set up, but let's go ahead and open up the project now that we've repoed it, and I'm going to put this to the side and we'll get started. So I'm going to open it up in VS Code. Hopefully you can see that right here. Give me 1 second. I'll move this to second monitor. Okay. So we have this, and this is pretty much what you'll start with, is this folder. So now, one thing to notice, this is a standard Gatsby blog website. All of the blogs are in this content/blogs. These are where all the content currently is. So now we're going to hook up Netlify. So the first thing we want to do is we want to add the Netlify dependencies. So if you haven't already, open up your command terminal, either in your terminal or your VS Code terminal, and we're going to install those Netlify dependencies. So npm I NetlifyCMS app Gatsby plugin NetlifyCMS, and then okay, so yeah, we need these two dependencies. While those are installing, we can go ahead and start the configuration. So in that NetlifyCMS starter documentation, they give you this kind of copy and paste configuration to start with. So in the static folder, so let me just close all these. So static, create a new folder called admin, and then in here we're going to create a new file called config.yml for YAML. We'll paste this in, and we'll leave this for now. We'll come back to this in a minute, but we'll save that, and then we're going to go to the Gatsby config.js file. We're going to add that new plugin that we just installed. So here, add a new one called Gatsby plugin NetlifyCMS, just like that. Okay, so now we have the initial setup configuration installed. Now we need to upload this to a GitHub project. So first, let's go ahead and just create the project on GitHub. So I'll bring this window back, and we're going to go to GitHub, and we will add a new repo, and this is going to be called, let's just say, Gatsby Netlify, and leave it open up public. Do not initialize this with the README because we are going to initialize it in the editor, or in the terminal, I should say. Okay, so now we just need to copy this link right here, and let's go back to our code. Okay, and bring this back over, and now we're going to want to do git add git commit to our initial commit here. Git commit initial commit. Okay, and then we're going to add the remote add origin and paste in that link we just had, and then we are going to Oh, the remote R exists. Oh, because I already tried to do this before. Okay. So I've already added it previously, but it should have no problems. You might have to log in with GitHub if you haven't pushed a remote or pushed anything up to GitHub before. But now we're just going to do git push -u origin master. And it should push it up. Okay, so now if we go back to GitHub, 1 second. Let me just put this in the code. So if we go back to GitHub and refresh it, we'll see all this is here. Great. Now we need to add Netlify to the mix. So we need to connect this repo to Netlify. So we're going to go to Netlify, netlify.com, and go ahead and log in. And we're going to do a new site from GitHub. And you're going to want to connect your GitHub repo if you haven't already, or you'll need to create an account if you haven't already as well. It's super simple, super fast. Just follow the instructions. So once you connect it, you should see your repos. So I'm going to select the new repo I just created. We're going to leave all the default stuff there. If you haven't already checked out Netlify, they're an awesome host for all of your static sites and even dynamic sites. Highly recommend them. We are using their CMS too. So now what we need to do is we need to go into the site settings, and we want to go into the identity and enable identity. This will allow you to log in and create an admin account and everything. So that's all good, and now we need to go to the registration. So you probably want to do invite only, and then you invite your users from this settings right here in Netlify. But for now, we'll leave it open just for this video. We'll save it here, and you can add Google logins or GitHub or whatever you want. Now we're going to scroll down further. If you do the manual or the invite only, this is where you would invite them. I think it shows up in here once you turn it on. So we are going to go down to services, get gateway, and enable get gateway. This will connect your the website to GitHub's API, so that when you push up a new post for your blog, for example, GitHub will it'll push a commit to GitHub with that markdown file. You'll see what I mean in a second. So now that we have activated it, we should be good to go. So the first thing we want to do is we want to check out the admin. So in order to do that, we have to start up the Gatsby site. So on Gatsby, I'm going to do npm run start. Alright, and that should be up, and let's take a look and see if it's there. Okay, so now we have the blog up and running. Let's check out the NetlifyCMS. So if you go to /admin, you'll see the first thing that shows up is you need to connect your local server to your domain, your prod server, essentially. That way your NetlifyCMS locally is doing the same thing as it would on prod, so we don't have two different databases. Or CMSs, I should say. So all it is ask for the URL of the Netlify site, go back to your Netlify, go to the top, and you'll see this app right here. Actually, if you right click and do copy link address is what you really want, paste it in here, and you'll see its URL, and then you will have to sign up. So put your name, email, and password. I already did it. Once you hit sign up, it'll send you an email. To that email, you click verify in your email, and it'll redirect you to the signed in. So I'm gonna go ahead and sign in. Okay, and now we have our NetlifyCMS. So taking a look, we have content, we have media, which just has our favicon. As you can see, it's not too greatly styled unless you're in a full desktop mode, so just a warning there. But let's go ahead and just add a new blog. So we have a title, we have a publish date, and we have description and body. Now if you go back to your admin configuration, you'll see that that's all these fields right here. So remember, it's called blog. We're writing in blog collection. This is the blog collection. The folder is content/blog, which means that all your blogs will go into this folder right here, content/blog. and create true. This just means that new blogs can be added in. If you wanted to, stop all new blogs from admins being able to add them in, you can turn this to false. Editor preview. So right now it's off, so we don't actually see it. But if we set this to true, save this, refresh it, reload it, and okay. Now you get this editor preview on the right hand side, which can be useful. So now you see all the fields: title, publish date, description, and date, and body, and they all have a name. This name is what is used in the README file and what is used to query the markdown. And the widget is the type of widget it is being used. So this is a string widget, this is a date widget, this is a string widget, and this is a markdown widget. Real quick, let's go over some of those widgets, because that is kind of a huge core component of the NetlifyCMS is these widgets. So here are all the default widgets it comes with. You can add your own, we won't get into that. But there's booleans, codes, dates. I won't read all these. But they kind of do what they tell you to, and they give you an example of how to use each one. We'll go into that in just a second. But for now, let's just add a blog and see it load up on the site. So new blog, okay, yes. Okay, we'll publish this. And you can switch this to Markdown as well, which is kind of cool. So their Markdown widget is pretty cool. It's nice, and most bloggers or people who will be adding content, this should satisfy most of the needs. Of course, there might be something special they want to do, in which case you'll need to implement your own widget. So this was published. Now, it's important to note that whenever you publish an article or a piece of content on your CMS, this publishes it and it pushes it into your GitHub repo. If we actually look in the GitHub repo and we look in the content folder into the blog, you'll see this is where it actually injected the markdown with all that information we just did. So in order to get this locally, because remember, our admin is pointing to our production server or our production CMS, we need to pull in our local host, the newest repo, the newest changes, the newest commits to bring in that article. So in the repo, I'm going to open up a new window and I'm going to say git pull origin master. This will pull, let me see if I can make this a little bigger. This will pull all the commits, and you can see it added this commit right here, created blog, new blog, which is the one I just made. All right, and now you can see it locally. So it's important to remember whenever you update the CMS, you have to pull it in into your local repo. Let's go back and to the home page and check it out. And here it is, new blog, okay. Now the reason this just automatically got imported is because all these fields are pretty much the same fields that were being used and the default ones that came. So it already knew how to parse it. The only thing different is that you'll notice it has this folder structure, a blog. So this is the default, but Netlify doesn't currently support that, but there's news that they will in the future. But for the time being, you can't edit these in your editor unless you bring them out. If you were to bring this out, rename it, and then push it up, if you were to bring this file out of this folder, rename it to the same syntax, or however you want to call this, the same file strategy as this, and then push it up to your repo, then you would be able to edit it in your CMS. But for now, I'll just delete these and then just, don't even worry about it. So we have new blogs there. Great. So now we can add new blogs. But what about other things CMSs can do, like settings? So we need a place, like if you imagine WordPress, you have a settings page where your admin can go and change the colors of the site. They can change the contact information, all of that good stuff. So we're going to do exactly that. We're going to create a new configuration for settings for the admins to be able to update the contact info. So if we go back to the admin config, we want to add a new collection, and this collection is going to be a file collection. So previously we did a folder collection. We're going to add a file collection. So name is going to be settings, and the label is going to be the same thing but capitalized. This is what your admins will see. And instead of folder, we're going to do files. And this file is a collection of different settings files. So the first settings file is going to be the contact info. So we'll say contact info. We got to get a name of contact info, and this YAML indentation is really important. If you're not familiar with YAML like I'm not, it can be very tricky. You'll sometimes miss an indentation and it'll yell at you and say it's wrong. So be very careful. Look at the documentation and try to copy over as much as you can without having to fully type everything out, because you probably will trip up at least once. I have multiple times. So we have a contact info file. So we're going to say the file name where this contact info file is being stored is not going to go in the same place the content is being stored, because it's not content, it's configuration. So we're going to add it in a place called site settings contact info.json. And then we will add some fields. So for the contact field, we're going to add, let's see, we're going to add a label, and actually you can just copy, it's the same syntax as above. Okay. I'm just going to copy this and change the label from phone, change the name to phone, and then we're going to do another one for email. And then let's do another one for the address. So label, address, name, address, and this widget is going to be an object widget, which means that it can contain fields. So this fields is going to have actually it's multi-line, so let's convert this to a multi-line YAML config. Okay, so fields, now this first one, so address, we need a street. Okay, and we'll do another one for street 2, and then we'll do another one for city. Okay, and this should be fine. Obviously you'll want to do like state and country and zip and all of that, but this is fine for now. So let's save this, make sure the site still works. Okay, great. Let's head over to our admin panel, and now we have this settings. And we have this contact info settings. So now when we save it, let's just try to add a phone number, see what happens. Move this over, publish now. We get all of this, emails required, streets required, street 2 required, cities required. So by default, all fields are required. So to turn it off, you could just add in, so let's just say for the phone, we say required is false. Save it, refresh, or actually no, let's not do phone, let's do email, since we have that. Email is not required for some reason. Refresh it, and you want to restore. Okay, did not restore. Email, we try to publish it, so now it doesn't bug you about the email. So here's one kind of gotcha in NetlifyCMS at the moment. You'd think for address, if you put required false, save it, that would make the whole object optional. See if we can restore it. It never restores right. So it says address is optional. If I hit publish and try to publish, it still says these fields are required. So I think that's a bug currently, but in order to resolve that, you just have to put required is false for all of these fields. This time I'm not going to do that. Okay. And now if you try to publish it, it will let you. Now we just added a piece of content, which means we need to pull it from our repo. So back to the console, git pull origin master. And once it pulls in, you'll see we have this new folder, site settings and contact info, and it's just a JSON file. So now if we were to go to like our index, and we could just pull this in like we would any other JSON file. Import contact info from back out site settings / contact info, and now we can just say contact info dot phone even has some autocomplete features. So we'll save that. Let's go back to our home page, and we can see the phone number we entered is right there. So that's how you can get dynamic content. that your admin will provide in settings and configurations. So that's pretty much the majority of what I want to show in this video today. A lot of this configuration is in the widgets. This is kind of the secret sauce of NetlifyCMS, being able to add your own widgets and being able to optimize these. So there's a couple other gotchas I want to go over real quick. The image widget is interesting. So you can use separate media libraries to handle your images, such as Cloudinary. So I have done that. And what that allows you to do is upload your images to Cloudinary and use your Cloudinary links and let Cloudinary handle all of the image optimizations and all of that good stuff. There's a couple bugs that happen when you do that. You can't select images sometimes and it gets kind of weird, kind of gimmicky. If you use the default image widget, then you can't use multiple images for a single field. You can only do one image per image widget. To get around that, you can do a list of images, and so you can have a list in each widget and have a list of image widgets. It's confusing, but just some things to look out for. Everything is I've run into so far, I've been able to work around it. One of the biggest ways I work around things is by just updating the markdown files or the JSON files directly in your local host. So you can always just update this, we'll say new blog 2, save that, and we go back to here, and look, it automatically updated it as soon as I saved it. So you can make changes into the files directly, which is super nice and convenient. It's not going to tie you down as a developer to use the admin console, but just know your users are not going to be editing these files directly, nor do they want to, unless they're like us. But one thing to make sure you do is when you update them locally, either push the change up to your repo so that it gets updated in your production CMS, or don't commit them and delete the changes from your local host so that when you pull it, you don't have a merge conflict. So I hope this video was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions or additional things you want me to go into, and I will do that in the next video. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.